My name is Commander Voss'ek of the Talnari Fleet, and I need to tell you about the most embarrassing military disaster in galactic history. Yes, that's right, I'm talking about the time we tried to recruit Earth into our little war against the Kreth Empire. What a brilliant idea that turned out to be. For 3 cycles now, the Galactic Coalition has been locked in combat with those savage Kreth bastards. They've been spreading across the outer rim like a plague, consuming entire star systems and turning peaceful worlds into smoking craters. Naturally, we figured we needed all the help we could get. Every civilized species had joined the fight. Every species except one, Earth. Those stubborn, backward humans had the audacity to tell us thanks, but no thanks. Can you believe it? Here we are, offering them the chance to join the most advanced military alliance in the galaxy, and they basically told us to take our war and shove it up our exhaust ports. The nerve of these primitives. Our intelligence reports suggested they possessed surprisingly advanced weapons technology. Kinetic bombardment systems, nuclear arsenals, chemical warfare capabilities. The kind of nasty, underhanded tricks that might actually work against the Kreth. But did they share? Oh no! They were too busy with internal affairs to care about galactic survival. The Coalition High Command was getting desperate. Admiral Keth Var was practically frothing at his mandibles during our last briefing. Those humans are sitting on a gold mine of destructive potential, he hissed. And they're using it to what? Tend their gardens? Manufacture entertainment? So naturally, someone had the bright idea to send a recruitment mission to Earth. And convince them through a show of force, demonstrate our superior technology, make them an offer they couldn't refuse. What could possibly go wrong? I volunteered, of course. How hard could it be to intimidate a bunch of backward primates who hadn't even achieved proper faster-than-light travel? We'd land, make some threats, show off our plasma cannons, and they'd be begging to join our cause. The plan was simple: locate their planetary defense headquarters, make contact with their military leadership, and negotiate their immediate surrender to our authority. Standard operating procedure for a backwater world. If only we had known what we were walking into. Our navigational computers identified what appeared to be a fortified governmental compound. Large structure, multiple defensive positions, clearly strategic importance. Perfect for a dramatic first contact scenario. We descended through Earth's atmosphere in full battle formation, plasma cannons charged, shields at maximum. Time to show these humans what real power looked like. The landing was textbook perfect. Our dropship touched down on what seemed to be a tactical landing zone. Flat, open space. Good sight lines. No immediate threats visible. I led my squad of 12 elite Talnari warriors toward the primary structure, expecting to face their planetary defense force. What I found instead was a small, elderly human female tending to colorful plants in the dirt. She looked up at our imposing battle formation, shielded her eyes from our ship's engines, and said, "Well, that's one way to kill my petunias." I stepped forward, activating my universal translator and puffing out my chest plates for maximum intimidation effect. Attention, Earth representative. I am Commander Voss'ek of the Talnari Fleet. You will surrender immediately and provide us access to your planetary leadership. The human female, who couldn't have been more than 5 feet tall, stood up slowly. She brushed dirt off her hands and gave me a look that somehow made my scales itch. Earth representative? Honey, I'm Martha Kowalski. I live here. This is my house, and you just landed a spaceship on my prize winning roses. My lieutenant, Grex Tal, leaned over and whispered, "Commander, perhaps this is some form of primitive camouflage? A defensive ruse?" Martha overheard him. Defensive ruse? Kid, the only thing I'm defending right now is my property value. You boys from the city or something? This was not going according to plan. I raised my plasma rifle threateningly. Silence, human. We demand to speak with your military commanders immediately. Martha looked at my weapon with the same expression she might give a misbehaving child. Put that thing down before you hurt yourself. And wipe your feet before you come any closer to my porch. I just mopped. You dare give orders to a Tal Nari warrior? I snarled, my voice modulator cranked to maximum menace. I've given orders to tougher things than you, sweetie. Martha walked over to a small table and picked up what appeared to be a communication device. Jake? Yeah, it's Martha. We've got visitors. Oh, the weird kind. Bring your good shoes. I was starting to lose patience. Woman? We are the advance force of the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy. We have come to claim your planet's allegiance in our righteous war. Martha sat down in a chair and looked us over like we were door-to-door salesmen. Well, that's nice, dear. Would you like some lemonade while we wait? You look a little dehydrated. Grex Tau was frantically checking his scanner readings. Commander, the energy signatures from this location are unusual. There appear to be multiple defensive systems integrated into the landscape. Defensive systems? Martha laughed. Honey, those are sprinkler heads. It's summer. Grass gets thirsty. A larger human male approached from a neighboring structure. He moved with the casual confidence of someone completely unafraid of armed aliens. Martha, everything okay over here? Oh, just fine, Jake. These fellas are here about some war or something. I told them you'd be right over. Jake looked at our battle formation and scratched his head. War? What war? Did someone invade Canada again? This was rapidly becoming the most surreal military operation in my career. I decided to take control of this deteriorating situation. Enough of this charade. You will comply with our demands or face the consequences. Martha raised an eyebrow. Consequences? What are you gonna do? Mess up my lawn more than you already have? Jake Thompson, the new arrival, walked over and extended his hand toward me. Jake Thompson, nice to meet you. You folks having some kind of car trouble? That ship of yours is smoking pretty bad. Car trouble? Car trouble? I was commanding the most advanced military vessel in 3 sectors, and this primitive was suggesting mechanical failure? Our technology is beyond your comprehension, human. Sure it is, buddy. Jake examined our landing site with professional interest. Looks like you came in a little hot, though. Probably want to check your heat dispersal systems before you take off again. Grex Tau was getting nervous. Commander, perhaps we should contact the fleet for backup? These humans seem uncooperative. Backup? Martha laughed. For what? A neighborhood barbecue? Jake, why don't you call Betty and Harold? They love meeting new people. Within minutes, 2 more humans had appeared. The female, Betty Chen, carried a plate of what appeared to be baked goods. The male, Harold Singh, moved with the fluid grace I recognized from elite warriors, though he wore the casual clothing of a civilian. Martha said you boys needed help with something? Betty offered the plate toward my warriors. Fresh cookies, chocolate chip. My soldiers actually looked tempted. I had to reassert authority. We are not here for your primitive food offerings. We are here to conscript your planet into military service. Harold Singh studied our formation with eyes that suddenly seemed much more alert. Military service? What branch you boys from? You're not Army. That's for sure. Navy, maybe? Those uniforms are pretty fancy. We are the Tal Nari Empire's most elite fighting force. I proclaimed, hoping to finally get some respect. Empire? Betty's pleasant expression shifted slightly. Now that's interesting. Jake, didn't we deal with some Empire types back in '78? Different Empire, Betty. These guys look more like that corporate security outfit from the Panama thing. I was losing my mind. Panama. What is this Panama? We are discussing galactic conquest. Martha stood up and dusted off her hands. Galactic conquest? Boys, you're thinking way too big. Start small. Maybe try conquering the Hoei first. Good practice. Grex Tau leaned over again. Commander, my scanners are detecting unusual readings from all these humans. Their biosignatures suggest significant combat experience. Combat experience? I looked at these ordinary suburban dwellers with fresh eyes. The way Jake stood. The way Harold's eyes never stopped moving, cataloging threats. The way Betty held that plate like she could use it as a weapon if needed. "What exactly do you people do for work?" I asked suspiciously. "Retired," Martha said cheerfully. "Retired from what?" "Oh, this and that. I used to work in demolitions. Jake here was in logistics. Betty did some consulting work. Harold was in what did you call it, Harold?" "Asset management." Harold nodded. "Asset management. Mostly overseas contracts." My translator was having trouble with their casual terminology, but something about their demeanor was making my combat instincts scream warnings. "Demolitions? What kind of demolitions?" "The exploding kind, dear. What other kind is there?" Betty stepped forward with her cookies. "You boys look tense. Maybe some sugar will help. I find most problems can be solved with the right combination of patience and proper nutrition. And if that doesn't work," Harold added quietly, "there are other options." The way he said other options made my scales ripple. Grex Tau was now scanning frantically. "Commander, these readings, these humans have traces of military-grade enhancement chemicals, combat stimulants, weapons residue, all of them." "All of them?" I looked around the peaceful suburban neighborhood with growing alarm. Children played in nearby yards. Elderly humans tended gardens. Normal, harmless civilians living normal, harmless lives. Except nothing about this felt normal anymore. "Martha," I said carefully, "when you say demolitions." "Oh, the usual. Buildings, bridges, bunkers, the occasional tank column. You know how it is." No, I did not know how it was. And suddenly I was beginning to suspect that our intelligence reports about human military capabilities had been drastically, catastrophically wrong. Not because humans were less dangerous than we thought, but because they were so much more dangerous that we hadn't even recognized what we were looking at. As if summoned by some invisible signal, more humans began emerging from their dwellings. A group of elderly females approached, chattering among themselves and carrying folding chairs. "Is this the book club meeting?" asked one, a silver-haired human with kind eyes and hands that moved like a knife fighter's. "No, Eleanor, that's Thursday," Martha replied. "These are visitors. From space." Eleanor looked us over with professional interest. "Space? Well, that's new. We usually just get Jehovah's Witnesses. Much better armed, though. I like the energy weapons, very clean design." My weapons officer, Zeke Moore, made a strangled sound. She recognized our plasma rifles as energy weapons. Instantly. 23 years Air Force intelligence, sweetie," Eleanor said, settling into her chair. "You pick up a few things." More humans were gathering. An elderly male with a walking stick hobbled over, except I noticed he held that stick like someone who knew exactly how to use it as a weapon. "What's all the commotion, Martha?" "Just some boys wanting to recruit us for their war, Frank." Frank snorted. "Another war? At our age? Tell them we're retired." I tried that. They don't seem to believe me. I watched in growing horror as what appeared to be a peaceful residential gathering transformed before my eyes. The children I'd initially dismissed as harmless were moving in formation, their play involving tactical communications and flanking maneuvers. A group of teenagers weren't skateboarding, they were practicing rapid movement techniques across urban terrain. "But, Commander," Grex Tau whispered urgently, "those children are using military hand signals." "Kids around here learn early," Betty said, overhearing. "Good habits start young." "What kind of neighborhood teaches children military tactics?" I demanded. "The kind where half the parents are former special operations," Harold replied casually. "Makes pickup games at the park pretty interesting." A vehicle approached with loud music and the distinctive aroma of cooked food. A young human male emerged carrying several flat boxes. "Pizza delivery for Thompson," he called out cheerfully. Jake waved him over. "Perfect timing, Tony. We've got guests." The delivery human, Tony, approached our group and froze when he saw our weapons. For a moment I thought we'd finally found a normal civilian. Then he sighed and set down his pizzas. Seriously, Jake? You couldn't have mentioned the armed aliens when you ordered? Sorry, Tony, they just showed up. Tony walked directly toward my weapons specialist, completely ignoring the charged plasma rifle pointed at him. Mind if I take a look at this? I haven't seen pulse technology this compact since my last deployment. Last deployment? I asked weakly. Army Rangers. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in classified locations I can't talk about. Tony examined Zek Moore's weapon with expert familiarity. This is nice work. Plasma containment field, electromagnetic acceleration. Mind if I? Before any of us could react, Tony had somehow disassembled the power cell and was holding it up to the light. Yep, thought so. You're running these way too hot. That's why you're getting that blue flickering. Turn down the output by about 15% and you'll get twice the battery life. He handed the power cell back to my utterly speechless weapons officer and picked up his pizzas. Anyone want pepperoni? I brought extra. My squad was now completely surrounded by what I was beginning to realize was the most terrifying gathering of senior citizens in galactic history. They were setting up tables, arranging chairs, and treating our invasion force like party guests who'd arrived early. Martha, called a woman from across the street, should I bring the good folding table? The one from the church? Yes, dear. And grab the cooler from my garage. I tried desperately to regain control. This is not a social gathering. This is a military recruitment operation. Oh, we know exactly what this is, said Frank, leaning on his walking stick. Question is, do you? We know you're from the Galactic Coalition, Eleanor added, consulting what appeared to be a tablet device. We've been tracking your fleet movements for the past 3 months. You've been tracking us? Honey, we've been tracking everybody? Old habits. Betty was now distributing paper plates. We know about your war with the Kreth Empire, your supply line problems, and that embarrassing defeat at the Proxima Beta station. How could you possibly know about Proxima Beta? That information is classified at the highest levels. Harold looked up from arranging napkins. You'd be surprised what people talk about on unsecured channels. Really should encrypt your communications better. Our communications are encrypted. Military-grade quantum encryption. We're encrypted, corrected a teenager who'd wandered over. I cracked that last week for my computer science project. Want to see the code? I stared at the young human in absolute terror. You broke military-grade encryption for school? It wasn't that hard. Your algorithm had a pretty obvious vulnerability. I wrote a paper about it. Want a copy? This was it. This was the moment my sanity finally snapped. We'd come to recruit primitives into our war, and instead we'd stumbled into some kind of suburban nightmare where grandmothers discussed military intelligence over cookies and teenagers casually committed acts of cyber warfare between homework assignments. What is this place? I whispered. Martha patted my arm sympathetically. Welcome to Meadowbrook Estates, dear. Quiet retirement community. Great schools, low crime rate, and the best neighborhood watch program in 3 counties. Here, sit down before you fall over. Martha guided me to a folding chair someone had materialized from nowhere. You look a little green around the gills. Well, greener than usual. Betty appeared with a tall glass of something cold and yellow. Drink this, sweetie? Fresh lemonade? My grandmother's recipe. I accepted the beverage in a daze while watching my elite military operation dissolve into what appeared to be a community picnic. My soldiers were being fed cookies and engaged in casual conversation about weapons modifications by humans old enough to be their great-grandparents. Grex Tal, I called to my lieutenant. Status report? Commander, the elderly female with the intelligence background is showing me how to improve our targeting systems. And the male with the walking stick just explained 17 different ways our formation could be compromised by a single sniper. A small human child, no more than 12 cycles old, approached with what looked like a primitive computing device. Hi, I'm Lucy. Are you the commander? Yes, child. I am Commander Voss'ek of the... Cool. I just wanted to let you know I'm borrowing your ship's communication array for a school project. Hope that's okay. Before I could process this statement, she'd somehow interfaced her device with our quantum communication systems. Alarms started blaring from our ship, Lucy. Martha called out, "What did we say about hacking without permission?" "But Grandma, they're using such outdated security protocols. It's like they want to be hacked." Harold Singh walked over, examining Lucy's work with professional appreciation. "Nice job on the encryption bypass, kiddo. Clean work." "Thanks. I learned from that tutorial you showed me about the Pentagon systems." I felt my mandibles go numb. "Pentagon systems?" "Oh, that was just practice," Harold waved dismissively. "Lucy here is working on something much more interesting." "Show him, Lucy." The child proudly displayed her screen, which now showed what appeared to be our entire fleet deployment, including ships I didn't even know were in the system. "I mapped your whole task force. You've got 17 ships in high orbit, 3 more coming through the jump point, and 2 scout vessels that think they're hiding behind the moon. Want me to send them a message?" "How did you?" I stared at the tactical display that would have taken our best intelligence officers hours to compile. "This is impossible." "Actually, it's just pattern recognition and basic signal analysis," Lucy explained patiently. "Your ships talk to each other a lot, and they're not very good at hiding." Frank hobbled over, still leaning on his walking stick. "Lucy, dear, did you remember to be polite when you introduced yourself to their other ships?" "Of course. I sent them cookies recipes and asked about their families." My communication officer's panicked voice crackled through the speakers Lucy had somehow activated. "Commander, we're receiving hundreds of transmissions from the surface. They're asking about our medical benefits and retirement plans." Eleanor looked up from her tablet. "Speaking of which, Harold, the boys in orbit look a little stressed. Should we invite them down for dinner?" "Good idea. Nothing worse than homesick soldiers." Harold activated what I was beginning to suspect was military-grade communication equipment disguised as a garden sprinkler. "Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Meadowbrook Estates Neighborhood Watch. Please land in the designated areas marked on your displays. Dinner is at 6. Casual dress." "You can't just invite an invasion fleet to dinner," I protested. "Why not?" Betty asked reasonably. "They look hungry, and that ship food never has proper seasoning." Tony, the pizza delivery expert, was now crawling around our dropship with a toolbox, making what sounded like improvements to our engine systems. "Your thrust vectoring is all wrong. No wonder you came in so rough. Hand me that plasma torch, would you, Jake?" "Plasma torch?" "Behind the rose bushes. Green handle." I watched in fascination and horror as Jake retrieved what was undoubtedly a military-grade cutting tool from Martha's flower garden. "Martha," I said weakly, "exactly what kind of retirement community is this?" "The kind where people want some peace and quiet after 30 years of saving the galaxy," she replied, refilling my lemonade. "We're all pretty much done with the hero business. That's why we moved somewhere nice and boring. But you've been monitoring galactic communications, tracking fleet movements. Your granddaughter just compromised our entire task force." "Well, yes, dear. Just because we're retired doesn't mean we're dead. We like to keep up with current events." The sound of approaching aircraft filled the air. I looked up to see my remaining ships descending toward what had apparently become impromptu landing zones, marked out with lawn chairs and garden hoses. "Besides," Martha continued, "someone has to keep an eye on you military types. If left to your own devices, you'd probably blow up half the galaxy by accident." By the time my entire fleet had landed in what was now apparently the galaxy's most dangerous subdivision, I had consumed 3 glasses of lemonade and accepted the uncomfortable truth that we had been completely, thoroughly, and embarrassingly outmaneuvered by a retirement community. "Martha," I said, setting down my empty glass, "I have to ask. If your people possess these capabilities, why didn't you join our war against the Kreth Empire?" Martha exchanged glances with her neighbors. "Well, dear, we've been a little busy." "Busy with what?" Eleanor pulled out her tablet and showed me a star chart covered in blinking dots. These 47 systems here? All Kreth refugee worlds. We've been relocating displaced populations, establishing new colonies, setting up defense networks. You've been what? And these 32 systems, Harold added, pointing to another section, were having territorial disputes that were about to go hot. We mediated peace agreements. Betty nodded. Then there were those 17 pirate fleets terrorizing the Outer Rim. We convinced them to find more productive careers. Convinced them how? Very politely, Frank said, grinning in a way that made my scales itch. I stared at the star chart in growing disbelief. You've been ending conflicts across 3 sectors while we've been fighting one war. Oh, that little skirmish with the Kreth? Martha waved dismissively. We took care of that last month. You what? Lucy looked up from her computer. We just had to explain to the Kreth Emperor that his expansion was affecting property values in 17 different systems. Turns out he's actually a pretty reasonable guy once you get past all the scary rhetoric. The Kreth Empire surrendered to a 12-year-old? Well, not exactly surrendered. More like agreed to relocate to some nice uninhabited systems we found for them. They're much happier now. Better climate. Plenty of room to spread out. Tony emerged from under our ship, wiping his hands on a rag. All done. Your engines should run about 40% more efficiently now, and I fixed that wobble in your navigation system. I looked around at my fleet, now scattered across a suburban neighborhood like the galaxy's most awkward block party. My soldiers were engaged in animated discussions about tactics with humans who'd apparently been single-handedly maintaining galactic peace while we weren't looking. I think, I said carefully, we should probably be going. So soon? Martha seemed genuinely disappointed. We haven't even had dinner yet. We have reports to file. Explanations to give. Well, if you're sure. But you're welcome back anytime. Thursdays are book club, Saturdays are game night. As we prepared to depart, Martha called out one final piece of information that nearly made me fall down the boarding ramp. Oh, Commander, you boys seem nice enough, but you might want to avoid Earth on Sundays. Why? Martha smiled sweetly. That's when the church crowd gets together. And trust me, dear, you haven't seen anything yet.